What started as a peaceful sunrise flight turned into a scene of chaos high above Brazil's southern coastline. The passengers thought they were floating through paradise until flames erupted inside the basket. Within seconds, a dream ride became a desperate fight for survival, with lives hanging by a thread in midair. A burst of flames shot upward from the floor of the basket. Screams echoed through the morning air, and as the fire grew, passengers were faced with an impossible choice: burn or jump. It was just after 8 a.m. on June 21st, 2025. The skies above Praia Grande were clear, painted in soft hues of gold and blue. There was no wind, no clouds, no sign of trouble in the air. Tourists gathered near the cliffs of Santa Catarina, ready for one of Brazil's most breathtaking attractions: a hot air balloon ride over the canyons and sea, part of a landscape locals proudly call Brazil's Cappadocia. This flight was part of the Corpus Christi holiday, a time when balloon rides are especially popular across Brazil. Couples were celebrating anniversaries, families were on vacation. Most were locals or domestic tourists, simply chasing the perfect sunrise photo. Each had paid around 550 reais, roughly $100, for the chance to see Brazil's southern coast from the sky. The balloon, operated by Sobrevor Serviços Turísticos, was known for smooth, scenic flights. Its track record was clean. Its crew was trusted. The pilot, a veteran with years of experience, moved calmly through his pre-flight routine. He gave safety instructions, adjusted the ropes, and tested the burners. Everything seemed perfect. The balloon, a Gulfier Balloons G32 13000, officially registered as BRMEA-3, was large enough to hold 20 passengers and a pilot, with room to spare. They climbed to around 1,000 meters, or 3,280 feet, during what was planned to be a 45-minute sunrise flight. Cameras clicked. Smiles bloomed. The balloon rose gracefully, casting a slow-moving shadow across the valley below. Below, the lush green valleys fell away, replaced by open sky. From the ground, it looked perfect, silent, magical. And then something changed. Something no one could see, not yet. At first, it was just a faint smell, something almost metallic, tinged with smoke. The pilot furrowed his brow. He leaned over one side of the basket, checking the equipment near the base. Then came the heat. It wasn't from the overhead burner. This was different. It came from below, unexpected and much too intense. A small flame had started near the reserve burner line, burning along the edge of the basket wall. A few passengers exchanged worried looks. One pointed at the flame, clearly unsure if it was supposed to be there. The mood in the air changed. Laughter faded. Phones stopped recording. The pilot's voice cut through the tension, firm but rushed. He reached for the emergency controls, trying to vent hot air and initiate a rapid descent. But the wind wasn't helping. They were still high, far too high to land safely in time. The flame grew faster than anyone expected. Within seconds, it had curled around the basket's edge, feeding on fuel lines and igniting the wicker walls. Thick, black smoke billowed upward, stinging eyes and lungs. Some passengers began to panic. One woman screamed. A child clung to his father's leg. The pilot shouted again, louder this time, voice sharp with urgency. "Get ready to jump, but only when I say." But they were still more than 15 meters above the ground, too high to jump safely, too low to wait any longer. And the fire didn't stop. It surged. Flames now curled around the pilot's feet, devouring the floorboards beneath him. The reserve burner had ruptured, a sharp hiss of gas, followed by a violent burst of fire that shot upward, scorching the basket from the inside out. The wicker began to split and crackle. Hands slapped at flames, clothes caught fire, screams turned into pure panic. Two passengers didn't wait. One man hurled himself over the edge, landing hard in a patch of rocky dirt. A second, a young woman, hesitated, then followed. She hit the slope and rolled. Both lay motionless, but they were out. Others clung to the rails, frozen by fear. Some shouted for help. One man tried to climb the burner frame to escape the heat. Another attempted to lower someone down using a jacket. but there was no time. "Jump now," the pilot yelled, his voice raw. The balloon was descending, but not fast enough. Wind carried it over a ravine, and the nearest flat ground slipped further away. Inside the basket, the heat became unbearable. Passengers fought to breathe through the smoke, shielding children, pushing back against flame and fear. The pilot stayed at the controls, trying to keep the descent controlled, even as the flames scorched his arms. Then the basket jolted violently. Part of the floor gave way, and someone fell through. Their scream was short as the flames swallowed the space they had just stood in. On the ground below, residents and tourists watched in horror as the fireball floated overhead, black smoke trailing behind like a signal of disaster. Within 2 minutes, a calm journey turned into a mid-air emergency, and for those still inside, time was running out. By the time the balloon dipped below the tree line, the basket was nearly gone. The bottom had collapsed. Flames roared out in all directions. The once sturdy ropes connecting the basket to the canopy snapped one by one, recoiling like whips into the morning sky. 8 people remained trapped. Some had lost consciousness. Others screamed, hoarse voices begging for help that couldn't reach them. Below, sirens wailed. Local residents had called emergency services the moment they saw the smoke. But the fire moved faster than any rescue could. The balloon drifted lower, now just a burning shell beneath a half-deflated canopy. As several passengers jumped, the sudden shift in weight caused the balloon to rise again, briefly and out of control. It floated higher for a moment, flames still spreading before descending once more, this time with nothing left to stop it. Then, with a sound like tearing fabric, the final support cable snapped. The basket dropped. It crashed into the field with brutal force. Wreckage scattered. More fire followed, setting nearby brush ablaze. A few surviving passengers lay sprawled across the field, burned, bruised, crying for help. The pilot was thrown clear, still conscious, crawling with what strength he had left toward the nearest passenger. Around 30 firefighters and multiple emergency vehicles arrived within minutes. They battled flames with foam and pulled the injured away from the burning remains. Medics moved fast, assessing burns, stabilizing the wounded. But for some, they were too late. 8 people had lost their lives. 13 others were injured, some critically. The field where they landed, once quiet and green, had become a scar in the earth. The balloon had crashed in a wooded area near a small health center, Centro de Saúde, just outside the city. A peaceful corner of the forest, now marked by smoke and silence. News of the crash spread quickly, first through local WhatsApp groups, then across Brazil, and by midday, the world was watching. Shaky videos taken by bystanders flooded social media. The balloon on fire, people screaming, thick smoke streaking the sky. Hashtags trended, headlines screamed, 8 dead in hot air balloon inferno. Families of the victims began receiving calls they never imagined. Some rushed to hospitals in Criciúma and Porto Alegre, hoping to find their loved ones among the injured. Others arrived only to learn the worst. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva called the tragedy unbearable and expressed his condolences. Governor Jorginho Melo declared a state of mourning in Santa Catarina and promised full support for the investigation. The city of Praia Grande, together with state officials, declared 3 days of official mourning, flags at half-mast, local events canceled, and silence across the region. Meanwhile, Sobrevor Serviços Turísticos suspended all flights indefinitely. Their team, once known for flawless service, now faced intense scrutiny, both from the public and from aviation authorities. The focus quickly turned to the balloon's fuel system. Initial reports pointed to a fault in the reserve burner, possibly a leak, possibly a rupture. An official investigation was launched with the promise of answers within 30 days. The investigation is being led by Brazil's aviation agency ANAC, supported by SANIPA, the National Center for Aviation Accident Investigation, along with local police and fire departments. One strange and tragic detail became central to that investigation. The balloon had first dropped then briefly climbed again as passengers jumped. Investigators now faced the difficult task of piecing together those final chaotic moments, second by second. But for many, no technical explanation could undo what had happened. Memorials appeared across Praia Grande, candles, flowers, and handwritten notes left near the launch site. One message read, "She just wanted to see the sunrise." Among the injured, recovery would be long and painful. Some required surgery, others faced emotional scars no doctor could heal. The victims came from all walks of life: doctors, a teacher, and figure skater, as well as family members. According to responders, 3 victims passed away, embracing each other, a haunting final gesture amid the flames. Hot air balloons are built to ascend, calmly, gracefully, without a sound. They offer a rare stillness, a weightless escape from the world below. For the 21 people who stepped into the basket that morning, that's all it was meant to be. A quiet adventure, a memory carried by the wind. It was a tourist flight, a simple journey through the sky. And yet it became one of the deadliest balloon tragedies in Brazil's history. In memory of those lost on June 21st, 2025, your story will not be forgotten. What part of this story touched you the most? Let us know in the comments. If powerful true stories matter to you, subscribe and help us reach 200K by the end of the year.